So let's get started. So making the leap, this is our personal chef webinar. And Bonnie, why don't you give a little background on yourself?
Well, I'm Bonnie Goodman, and I'm a working personal chef in Orange County. I've been doing it for 6 years. Before that, I was a stay-home mom. But when our youngest left for college, the year she was a senior, I started taking cooking courses at the local culinary school. And by the time she left for college, I started my business, and I've been working ever since.
Great. And I'm Bonnie's husband. I'm Greg Goodman, and I've been a technology consultant and web marketing executive for many years. And really, when Bonnie started her business, I was help coaching her in how to market her business and structure her website and how she did her promotion. And so I've been watching her through this endeavor since day one. So today, what we're going to talk about is several different topics, but more. We'll start off by looking at what a personal chef is, and then we're going to talk about why now is a great time to become a personal chef. And then we'll take an example of how you can figure out what your earnings potential is if you decide to enter this field. And lastly, we'll look at a roadmap of what it takes for you to get your business up and running, and with the goal of trying to do that, maybe by the beginning of the new year. And lastly, we've left plenty of time for questions and answers. Now, while you're going through this presentation and pondering the universe, just want to let you know that you can ask us questions at any time during the presentation. There's a Q&A button or a Q&A button that you can press where you can submit your questions, and we'll see that you've submitted a question. And also, there's a chat window, which you guys have already started using, which is great. And we're also going to do some polls throughout this presentation, so be ready for that. So as a matter of fact, I think this is our first poll. And let me just start it this way. Go there so I can see my cursor. And here's our first poll that you should see, and which is, why do you want to be a personal chef? Is it to make more money, do what you love, help others, or just have the freedom? So if you could just take a second and click on your answers.
Can they see the answers too?
We'll show you the answers in just a second. Okay, good. Oh, very good. Okay, so I'm just gonna close the poll now, and you can take a look and see what it is. And it looks like majority of you are really interested in doing what you love. So having that passion for cooking, huh?
Mm-hmm.
And some of you like the freedom of working, owning your own business, and then of course, money's an important thing as well. So great. So we're going to do a few more of these polls going forward, but this is a great first step. So let's get back to the presentation. Oh, hold on one sec. Get rid of the poll. There we go. Okay. So what is a personal chef? So, why don't you explain a little bit about that?
Well, I am a personal chef to different families through the week. And for them, I'll meal plan, and I send them a menu, and they approve it, or we go back and forth and we figure out what the menu is for the upcoming week. And then I'll make lists and have a game plan. And then that morning I'll go shopping and go to their home and cook. And then,
No, that's okay. So you're talking about, so an important part of it is the planning element, right?
Yes. Planning is a lot. You go to your client's home and you cook, but prior to going, there's quite a bit of planning before you actually go.
You have to help them decide on a menu plan. I mean, you help them figure out what food they want to eat each week.
Yeah. So, well, can I talk about the assessment, or is that later?
No, you could talk a little bit about it.
Yeah. So before the cook date, I'll meet with them for the first time. I go to their home and we discuss their likes and dislikes and what they've been eating up till now, their favorite dishes, things they like, don't like, and then we decide on a first menu for the next week, and based on their likes and dislikes, I'll do my own research and I'll suggest a menu, and they'll say, oh, this is great, or they'll say, oh, can we switch out this for this, and we just work together. But after a while, you really get to know what they like, and it's nice for them because I'm not always saying, is this okay, is this okay? I just kind of give them a menu and they're saying, wow, this is exactly the kind of things we like to eat. So, but that's all part of menu planning.
Good. And then you also do the shopping for you.
Right.
And that's on the day of the cook date. Right?
Yeah. Shopping has to be done on the day of the cook date. You can't shop and then bring it home and then keep it in your fridge and then take it the next day. It has to be shop and go. There's a lot of health laws you have to follow, and so yeah, shop and then go directly to the client's home and take it in and start prepping.
Yeah. And then of course there's the cooking, right?
Yes, there is the cooking. There's a lot of prep when you get there, your meats and your veggies and whatever you're making that day. So
but it's sort of interesting because you get to adapt to every different client's kitchen, and so it's a different experience each time, right?
Yeah. And always the first cook date is the longest, and because it's a new kitchen, so you're trying to find things, and you're trying to understand, every oven, the internal temperature is always a little different, and their burners are different, and it's just getting used to where everything is, spices and pots and pans and whatever. So. And
then one of the last parts that you do as a personal chef is then you've completed the meals and now you need to store them, right?
Right. Yeah. So after you cook the meals, and you have to cool them first, and then you want to put them in the fridge. A lot of people will think, oh, well, it's hot, I'll put it in the fridge to cool it down. But what that actually does is bring down the internal temperature of the overall refrigerator, and it
brings it up, actually.
I'm sorry. You know what I meant. Yeah, brings it up, and it compromises the whatever's in there currently. So you don't want to put hot food in a fridge. You want to cool it down and then put it in.
And then for some clients, when you prepare a lot of meals, some of it's going to go in the freezer too, right?
Yeah, it depends. My clients, actually, I don't put much in the freezer. They like to eat everything fresh. But if you do have freezer items, yeah, you will put them in the freezer. Either, you can portion them out individually, or put it family style and just put it in the freezer. But that's something that you would discuss with each client at the assessment, and they'll let you know if they want things frozen or not.
But sometimes when they order, say, 5 meals, like a 3-day window is probably good for refrigerator, but after that, right, they may want to think the 4th and 5th meal would probably have to be in the freezer.
Yeah, right? They would have to be in the freezer. And you learn things like what freezes best. Any type of soups, casseroles, anything saucy are good frozen items. So you work with your client and suggest that maybe those would be the ones that would go in the freezer. So
good. Now, personal chefs also do other things, correct? They do teaching.
Yeah, definitely. In my business, I do mostly just family meals during the week, because that's just what I want to do. I don't want to do parties, and because in my life, the way I'm doing my business is just good balance for me. But definitely personal chefs, they can They can have parties, or they can teach. Yeah, there's so many options. I mean, the rules are you have to go into your client's home and cook there and do everything there. But if you follow those rules, you can really do.
Yeah, there's just a lot of opportunities.
A lot of different options.
Now, there are some things that personal chefs don't necessarily do. One is you don't cook from your own home, right?
Yeah, it's really just for liability reasons. You don't want to cook at your home and then deliver to your client. If for some reason they got sick or something, they could just sue you, and you don't want to open yourself up to any type of liability.
And in our area, and I think most of the United States, you legally cannot cook from your own home. So it's so not only it opens you up to tremendous liability because you're breaking the law essentially.
Yeah. Although there are the cottage licenses, but that's
true. So there are certain things you can cook out of your home, but generally for personal chef, if you're preparing entrees and sides, as opposed to say baked goods that would be from a cottage license, it's probably best to cook at your client's home
or a commercial kitchen.
Yeah, and from a relationship building standpoint, by doing it at their home, they get the benefit. They get to come home and smell the great cooking. You're there, so they get to develop a relationship with you. So it all works to your advantage.
Yeah.
Technically personal chefs don't cook every day for one client. That's a common misconception by the clients themselves, right?
Yeah, well, the difference between a personal chef and a private chef is that a private chef will cook for one client every day. They have the same client every day for the year or for however long. But a personal chef, we have different clients every day. So that's mainly the difference. And yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so let's transition into why now. And for those of you, I'm not sure how many of you have taken the crash course. I know there's a lot of people have been interested in that. We actually talk about why now, but we just wanted to cover it again a little bit because it's still relevant. The personal chef market itself is rapidly growing, and I think a lot of it has to do with just people are getting used to having more and more services coming directly to their home.
Yeah, when I'm one of my clients, while I'm there, it's just crazy. I'm in the kitchen cooking. We have the plant person coming, the yoga instructor. She comes after the masseuse, and who else? Oh, and the house cleaners are there too. So
yeah,
it's busy.
And of course, not all homes are like that, but I think all of us are getting a little bit more comfortable with the fact that there's more people coming into our home because we don't have those skills that families a generation ago had, and a lot of people are losing the skill to actually make meals, and so they want to have the food come back to their home. And so that's why this home services is just going crazy. And even Amazon launched a part of their website that's just for home services, and they have like over 700 home services. So they're getting very serious about this market. And so again, it's just a natural opportunity for people like personal chefs. Now, of course, health awareness is huge right now.
Yeah. Anyone who contacts me for my services contact me because they want to eat healthier. On my website, it's it will say healthy home style, plant-based, or vegan, and dietary restrictions like allergies. So I kind of specialize in those things, and I get so many inquiries from people who want to eat healthier, or maybe, sorry, that's our dog. also their adult children whose parents are suffering an illness and they want them to eat healthier.
Yeah, which actually we talk about in a sec.
Oh,
But let's transition also. There's another element here is that these families are getting busier and busier. They're either both working or they have kids activities. And so they're just finding it harder and harder to make the time to prepare the meals. And they're probably also missing that time in front of the dining table with their family. So this is a great opportunity for personal chefs too, right?
yeah, definitely.
Okay. And then this is what you were talking about also with an aging population. A lot of people are needing special diets.
Yeah, special diets. And also just the rise in celiac disease and there are different links between autism and gluten and all sorts of things. But I get calls from so many families just wanting me to cook allergy-friendly meals for their families. So, and I found that in my area, there aren't very many that say that they specialize in allergy friendly meals. So, it's a field that needs help as chefs.
Very good. So let's come back to our next poll, which is how serious are you about becoming a personal chef? And let's put that up. Okay, this is your chance to vote on how serious are you? Are you very serious, pretty serious, interested, or not sure? Oh, very good. Okay, I'm going to close the poll and and I'll show you the responses. So there's a number of you that are very serious about getting started. So good for you. And so really across the board, but it's exciting to see, people that are really, interested in getting their business up and running.
Yeah, it's a growing field, and I can just honestly say that there's a need for more personal chefs. I mean, I get inquiries that I can't have any more clients. I just am full, and I have been for such a long time that I just kind of send them to other people in the area, and so
yeah. So for those of you that actually in Southern California, we should stay in touch.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so I'm gonna close this and get back to our presentation. Okay, so I know we always get a lot of questions about what is the earnings potential of a personal chef, and rather than just talk about it, I'm going to show you a way to go out there and just take a look. So let's look for pricing in your area. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share now my browser. And let's just take a look at, say, personal. I'm just going to do a search. I'd like to do a search. Okay, so we're going to do a personal chef search in Denver. And, this is one of the things that people do. They just say personal chef Orange County, and this is where you want to wind up being right in this area. If you're on second, third, or fourth, fifth page, that's the hard part. But these people are doing it right, and so I'm just going to pick on this individual. And you can see right here that they talk about plans and pricing. So I'm just going to click on that. And if we scroll down, we can see that Fresh Weekly Service, and they have a 3-meal plan for $360 plus groceries. Okay, so so you can see that their daily rate starts at $360, and then whatever groceries that they incur, the cost they incur, they pass along to the client. So that may be another $7,500. But their take home is $360. So that's what they take home each day.
And then for that 3-meal plan for $360 plus groceries, the 3-meal plan, I would say can go, might take you anywhere from 3.5 to 6 hours, just depending on what the menu is and the complexity of the dishes.
Okay, so let's go back to our presentation. And so now that you have this information, I'm going to simplify it and just say it's $300, just so the math is easier. All you have to do is figure out that how many days you want to work a week. And these are not necessarily easy days. So some people, like for you, 4 days is you currently are doing
4 days.
4 days.
Yeah.
And some people are more adventurous. They want to put in the effort. You could do 5 days a week, even 6.
Some people just want to work 2 days or 3 days. It just depends on what you want for your business.
Right. So let's assume 4 days a week, 50 weeks a year. So you give yourself 2 weeks of vacation, and you have a daily rate of $300. That's an annual income of $60,000. So that's sort of like the ballpark that you could see. The daily rate is definitely going to vary depending on your market. So that's why I encourage you to go do a Google search on personal chef in your market and look at personal chefs that show their rates. And not everyone shows their rates, but they should. It's something we talk about in our course, that you really want to make it easy for your client to understand if they can afford you. Because if they can't, it's not going to help you either. But anyways, enough of that. But this can get you a sense of what your earnings potential could be in your area. So here's our last poll. And what is your greatest obstacle? So let me turn that on. So what are you struggling with when you think about becoming a personal chef? Maybe you don't have the money to get your website up and running and some of your marketing materials. Are you worried that your cooking's not good enough, or that you don't know how to get out there and market yourself, or how to get that first client, or just it looks too overwhelming as a whole? There's a lot of things that can overwhelm us as we start looking at this. But really what we just need to do is break it down step by step. If you look at it step by step, it doesn't get as daunting. But let's take a look and see how everyone's voted. So I'm going to end the poll. And now everyone can see that it's how do I get the clients. That's really, and I think that goes in with marketing as well. And we'll talk a little bit about that today as we go through this roadmap. So let's go back.
You see that there's a question?
Yeah, I saw there's a question. We'll answer that in the Q&A at the end. So what are your greatest obstacles? We did that. So let's talk about the roadmap. I'm just going to double check on time. So we're about halfway through, which is great. So again, think about how we can break down the step by step from getting you from today to, say, January, when you're able to get your personal chef business up and running. Again, it's breaking down is the key. And the first thing you need to do is come up with a vision. What type of personal chef are you going to be? And really where that starts is brand. What is it about you that is going to make that the clients are going to, what type of impression are you going to make with your clients? And if you look at brands far and wide, they really have 3 important elements. They're aspirational, which means that when you look at this brand, you just want to use that service or product because it makes you feel better about yourself. and they can be emotional. You know, there's certain things that'll tug at the heartstrings that make a connection. And there's a lot of great commercials out there that are examples of that. And what can you do with your brand as well to make a similar connection with your client? The last thing about your brand is that it needs to take a stand. And I know, you know, sometimes it can be a little controversial, well, maybe not controversial, but people at first are a little bit reluctant. But taking a stand means what are you focusing on? What's your niche as a personal chef?
Because a lot of times personal chefs, they'll say, people will ask, well, you know, what do you specialize in? Everything. I cook anything, whatever you want to eat. And that's fine, because it covers all the bases. But Greg, everything he's telling you is everything he told me with my business. And that's why I focused on healthy home style, and the things that I'm passionate about, plant-based eating, and allergies.
I mean, the thing is that even though Bonnie focuses on that, it doesn't mean she's getting people that just want to eat vegan. But she does get people that want to eat healthy. And because she's focused on healthy home style, people that see her site build that connection immediately versus somebody that tries to be everything. So when you try to be everything, you'll always be beat out by somebody.
By someone who specializes.
Right.
Right. And I do believe that. Over the years, I see it in action just with my website and how my business really took off.
Anyway, so when you're thinking about brand, those are the things you want to think about as you start to build up what your business should look like. And we're not going to talk a lot about our courses here because we just want to make this an information session for you. But this is things that we spend a lot of time helping our students work through, is how to develop a brand for what they're all about, because that really flows through everything that you do.
That's right.
So the other thing is that you need to, when you're coming up with your vision, is you got to think about who your target clients are, and that goes hand in hand with your brand.
Mm-hmm.
So if your brand is about being healthy home style, your target clients are going to be health conscious, right?
Yes, very much so.
And so you got to think about who are these target clients and where do they hang out, both online and in the real world. You know, would these target clients potentially be going to a health event that you could attend or exhibit at? Or what local schools do their kids go to that you could provide you could support a fundraiser by providing a free personal chef meal as a silent auction item?
Yes, I've done that.
Yeah. So by understanding who your target clients are can help you understand how you're going to promote yourself. And when you start putting this all together, this is what becomes your story, what makes your business interesting to your clients. And this is a story that you should be able to rattle off the top of your head it's your 15-second elevator pitch that if somebody says, oh, what do you do? That can be compelling, can get them excited, and want to know more about what you do. So that's vision. After you do, and vision doesn't have to take a long time, but you want to put thought into it. But quickly after that, you need to start designing your business. And with that, the first step you need to do is set up your business. There's a lot of administrative stuff, but of course you need to come up with a name and logo. And for a lot of people like you, it's Chef Bonnie.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes it can be really simple. You don't have to go crazy, but these are the things you need to think about. Your name and logo, but also your domain name. So fortunately, when you started this in 2010, chefbonnie.com was not taken. So right. You got that. And I saw there was another Bonnie that signed up. So sorry that domain name is taken.
Oh, sorry. You know what's so funny is that growing up, my name was just always so unusual. And I didn't like my name. But once I started this business, it's like everybody remembers Chef Bonnie because Bonnie's not a common name. So go figure.
So no, it's perfect. So the domain name is important, and that can also bear on your name of your business. So as you're thinking about a name, also double check your domain names. And there's services on the internet that you can look at, like register.com, that you can take a look at. Another thing is the legal entity type, and we don't have time to go into the different types of legal entities outside of it, just to say that you could be a sole proprietorship. That's what a lot of people do. A partnership, corporation, or limited liability corporation. There's really a lot of different variations on that. And at some point, you may want to think about talking to a lawyer or a friend of a friend who may be one that can give you some guidance on that. We talk a little about in the course of the advantages of each, but you're going to need to have some type of legal entity when you set your business up. It's not as intimidating as you would think, but you need to get it done. Insurance is key.
Very key. You want to have insurance.
Yeah, as we say in the course, you're stepping into someone's home that is very, very expensive. You're working with oil and flame. What could go wrong?
Mm-hmm.
Have insurance. It's peace of mind, and it's just a good business, solid business practice.
Insurance right now is about $500 a year for personal chefs. And although that sounds like a lot, you saw that one chef in Denver, she charges $360 for, one of her 3x4 cook dates. So you can make that up in 1.5 cook dates. So yeah, it's worth it.
Penny wise and pound foolish. You really want to make that investment. And lastly, you're going to need to think about your business processes. How are you going to maintain your client files? How are you going to maintain all your recipes? How are you going to bill people? How are you going to do your invoicing? So these are the things you just need to set up very early on in the process. You don't want to do it after the fact, after you're trying to get your first client. It's good to get it done now. Services and pricing. What services are you going to offer, and how are you going to price them? Again, we could go into a lot of depth here, and maybe on a future webinar, I'm sure we will. But the two most important things to take away is just start out simple. You don't have to offer every service under the book. You want to just start, do a standard meal service where you're doing like 3 meals for 4 people, or 3 meals for 6 people, 5 meals for 4 people. The basic service where you're going out once a week to a client to provide them this, and then maybe something else like doing teaching or so you could do a cooking class in someone's home. That's a nice thing that you could charge by the hour.
Because when you have on your website, or when you meet with people and you talk to them about your pricing, for the client, I've learned that they just want a number. They don't want a number but I'll have to charge you for my time in the grocery, and I'm going to charge you for driving, and all these like little charges added on. They start to almost get suspicious when they see all these little add-on things. They want to see the price plus groceries. They got it. So you just want to keep it simple and not have all these things that they have to read and try to understand when they're just, trying to figure out this whole personal chef thing. So, when you meet with them, you can talk more in depth, but on your website, keep it clean, keep it simple. They appreciate that.
And the other thing is, don't underprice. And every time when a new personal chef is starting out, and you went through the same thing, is that you're charging a lot of money for your service, more money than individually we'd ever pay for something like that.
Right.
And you say, well, am I worth it? Is my cooking good enough? Do I have the experience? All these other people have more experience than I. How can I go out and charge just as much as them?
Yeah, you just kind of feel funny that they're paying all this money for you to cook for them, but I think when you work on pricing, you really have to keep in mind that it's just not the food that you're making. It's the service you're providing. It's the meal planning. It's the shopping. It's the prepping.
It's the professionalism.
Professionalism, yes. And they don't have to worry about any of that. you're going to come in and you're going to take care of them. So they're really paying for peace of mind. And that's what you as a personal chef have to keep in your mind when you price, is that it's not just the food, it's everything else as well.
So again, we could go into a lot more discussion around pricing, and we do so in the course, but it's one of those things that sometimes you just have to learn by doing it. And if you wind up pricing yourselves under the market, you'll find that your potential clients that start talking to you tend to want to negotiate you down even further, which is not fun. And once you start doing the work, you realize how much effort goes into it. You're going to develop that, hey, I am worth it. But all of a sudden you've priced your services low for your existing clients, and it's harder to raise them for existing clients once you've priced it low. So,
and just so you know, when I first started, Greg wanted me to start at a certain amount, and I couldn't do it. I just said, no, I can't. So I ended up pricing much lower. And I went to the cook date, and I came home and I walked in and I said, you were right, because I just felt like I don't think I would want to continue doing it if I was only going to make, the amount that I started with. So anyways, after that client finished, and from that day on, anyone else who signed on with me, my rates went up. So I believed it after the first time. And so I know it's common to, they call it imposter syndrome, but to have that feeling like you're not worthy, but you just got to own it and do it.
Good. Now, the other thing you're going to have to do, and this is probably another biggie, is your website. Your website's so important. It's the first time that your client's going to have a chance to read up on you, and everyone checks out your website. So it's got to be top notch. But in order to do that, the first thing you need to do is focus on the client, who your client is, because you've figured out your target client, and then what challenge are they coming to your site with? Because everyone that comes to your site has a challenge, a fundamental challenge, and your site needs to focus on how to answer that challenge quickly and simply. If not, they're gone. You get like 15, 30 seconds of their time, and then they're on to the next personal chef. So you want to answer their challenge as quickly as you can. And you do that by having good content. And what I mean by that is you're going to have a good story to tell about you, and you're going to make it simple and easy to read. That is just tells that story that can answer that challenge. So you think about the content first before you think about colors and fonts and all that. And the next thing is just keep your website simple. You're hearing, again, recurring themes. Keep it simple, because you want to make it easy for them to decide to do the next step. And that next step is just to pick up the phone and call you. Get that inquiry. And so if you saw how the person whose site we visited, it was actually very simple. They had the, matter of fact,
really nice pictures.
Yeah. And matter of fact, why don't we just go to her site really quick again? Let's see, where was it? There we go. Oops. There we go. So you see on her site, just home, talks about herself, why her service is good, then her plans and pricing, has the pricing quick so they can decide, frequently asked questions, and then contact. And then she has a blog, which is great because it allows people to see what she's up to. So she's doing all the right things, and that's what you should be thinking about too. And she did have some great pictures on her homepage too. So nice, rich, flavorful pictures. And there's more that we can talk about there, but hopefully you can sort of understand what you can be doing with your website.
And I would say for my service, the website was key. I got busy. I was told that it took 3 years to get a regular clientele, but I was able to do it in a single year, just over a year, and I was busy. And it was because of the website. When I first started my business, I always asked people, how did you hear of me? oh, I love your website. Who did your website? And luckily enough, Greg was able to do my website, and he's
Yeah.
helped me so much. But
Well, don't sell yourself short too. You kept, through your professionalism, you kept a good core of clients as well.
right. Well,
And
yeah.
so it
Okay.
was a whole combination.
Yeah.
But
That initial contact
but that
was,
website is very important.
yeah. Just
No, very good. And so that's design. And then once you're done with design, then you start with your launch. And this is where a number of things happen. First of all, during your launch, you can start conducting some trial cook dates. Talk to friends, talk to families, and go through the process of, start to finish. Have them pretend that they don't know you, call you up and do an inquiry, have you practice your inquiry with handling the inquiry, then sit down with them and conduct an assessment. And once the assessment's done, then do the meal planning, right?
mm-hmm.
And then go to their house and do the trial cook day. You're going to make mistakes. Mistakes are great because you're learning. You're learning what the challenges are in doing these cook dates. I can't stress enough that you do a lot of trial cook dates. And then getting to your first client. And I know one of our questions is about that, and maybe this will answer, but we'll take in the Q&A as well, is that you need to get yourself out there. And one of the best ways you can do it is through Google search ranking. And what that means is that your website needs to have the right keywords in place so that you're attracting the clients you want. And so for Bonnie serving healthy homestyle in Orange County, we made sure that that there was keywords that Google was indexing, that personal chef Orange County was like number most important. And then next to that was healthy and allergies and stuff like that. And so as a result, she gets a relatively good search ranking. Now, it also helped that she started in 2010. So she's been out there for a while, and Google definitely, their ranking criteria is very secret, but part of it also is your length of time and activity. But things like you're doing a blog can also help your search ranking. So you want to do all these different things that can move you up to that first page in the Google search results. Now, next to that, the other thing that you can do is start reaching out. And what you need to do is start coming up with your own email campaign to reach and actually talking to people. It's a little bit out of style, but you do it these days, is go out to your friends and family and get them to talk to their friends and family. Go out to your local community, talk to your local grocers, tell them about your story, what you're doing, and what is your passion of why you're doing this. We talked about that story and how you can have that 15-second conversation to get people energized about you being a personal chef. And right now, people are interested in personal chefs. You get a lot of people light up when you tell them you're a personal chef.
Yeah, definitely they do.
So take that to your advantage and start reaching out and talking to people. You don't have to be, take it from me and Bonnie. We're the last people in the world that schmooze. We are not the marketing people that are the life of the parties, but we do like to engage with people. We have a genuine interest in people. And so you can go out there and talk to people, because at the end of the day, you're out there helping others. And so that's a way to start out these conversations and to try to get people to be aware of what you're doing. And this whole process, it does take time, and it takes, more important than that, tenacity. You have to be doing it all the time when you're first starting. And it's in the beginning, it seems like you're really pushing a rock uphill. But the more you do it, and you add that with doing the blog posts and improving your search ranking, it's like every little bit helps. But as you do it, you're going to find that you're going to get more successful, and people are going to start responding. And another thing you can do is find events. Find events that you think like we mentioned before, that your target clients may be attending. So it could be a silent auction at a school, or a health event at maybe something at local grocers where you can do a demonstration. Even you're associated with a local farm here in Orange County.
Mm-hmm.
So there's lots of opportunities. You just have to keep your eyes open. And events can take time and planning. So don't try to do too many a year, but maybe if you've planned one every 3 months, that would be a good, to be an active participant at, and then you can also attend more if you want to.
if there's a local farm near you, like I'm affiliated with the Tanaka Farms in Irvine, California, and they have health events there, so I'll go and help there. And I also do some videos that they post up on their website as well. So it's a nice relationship, and we get free vegetables.
That's the other side benefits. Once you start establishing these relationships, you can barter, and you can find ways that you can help them, and then they can help you. And that, again, it's all about really helping others and allowing them to help you too. So it's a great opportunities like that. The other thing is, in your downtime, practice doing your inquiries, practice doing your cook dates. These are skills that you can refine over time. And one of our blog posts talks about how listening is a great way to handle an inquiry. I'm not going to go into depth in it, but I'm very passionate about it. Is the best thing you can do when you're talking to a client is actually listen and understand what they're saying first. So again, in our courses and on our site, you can read more about that. And then after you launch, then you actually start to have your cook dates, and you need to start thinking about menu planning, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think you talked a little bit about earlier what's a personal chef, but when you're coming up with menu planning, that's a little bit creative.
Yeah, well, at the beginning it's just a little more difficult because the client is new, but you quickly get to learn their style, what they like to eat, and then you can suggest things that wasn't discussed at the assessment, but they think, oh yeah, that sounds good, and then it ends up being on the regular rotation. And so, and then as time goes by, you just have so many dishes that they like, so you just make sure they're spaced out, and you just repeat. And it gets easy after a while. Just at the beginning, it's a little work because you're just getting to know each other.
And then the other thing that is so important is the planning, right?
Yeah, the game plan. I mean, I'm old school. I like to write things down, but I write out a game plan for the day, depending on
every cook date, right?
Yeah, for every cook date. What did I say?
No.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just emphasizing.
Yeah, definitely for every cook date. And depending on how many dishes you're making and the complexity of each dish, you want to make sure that you're doing several things at one time. So anyways, a good game plan, really thought out, will shave quite a bit of time off your cook dates. So I highly recommend doing that.
And then if you do have that good plan in place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you have a good plan in place, and multitasking is easier. I'll say over the years, multitasking is a skill that you get better at. And when I first started, I thought I was pretty good at multitasking, but I'm really good now. And not only that, I can, since we wash our own dishes too, I'm pretty good at consolidating and using one pot for so many things, and I plan the day that way, so at the end of the day I'm not washing a ton of stuff. So you get better with time.
Good. So we've covered each of these steps, and these steps can take a while, but it is something where you could get up and running if you can break down these steps by the beginning of the new year. It's just, again, coming up with your own game plan of how you can launch your personal chef business. And once you do that, you get to celebrate because you've had your first client and you're off and running. You can call yourself a personal chef and feel proud to do that. I know a lot of people wrestle with it. Am I good enough to be a chef? A personal chef is a service, and it's something that is definitely in need, but it's it really encompasses not just your cooking, but your professionalism and your commitment to your clients.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully this gives you a sense of that roadmap. So one thing before we start the Q&A is just to let you know that on October 8th, that's the next big event for us, is we're opening enrollment once again for the Becoming a Personal Chef course. And that's our flagship course. We're going to have more information coming out this next week as we get closer to a week from today that talks about the course. So if you are one of those people who are thinking about launching in January, then let's talk further, because I think there's a lot that we can help you with in terms of workbooks and lessons that really go into this whole work plan in much, much greater depth. And that allows us to go to Q&A. So let's do that. Okay. So this is your time to ask questions, and we're going to go through them. What happens when you buy all the, So what happens when you buy all the groceries on the cook date, but you don't need the entire item, for instance? You only use half the block of cheese, or you couldn't get bulk nuts and you bought a whole bag when you need a tablespoon. Do you leave the leftovers for the client or take it with you and still charge a full amount? This must come up with things like especially flours and grains. This is a very good question.
Yeah, it's a very good question, and that happens all the time. You know, I'll go to the bulk area and try to buy nuts, but if they're out, or even beans, if they're out, I'll end up buying the bagged beans. And the clients don't question it; they just want the food. But yeah, I leave everything there. By law, you can't take something home and then bring it back for that client. So it depends. One client gives me a plastic tub that I keep a bunch of stuff in, and I keep it, in their pantry. And another client, I just put it right in with all their things. I know where they keep everything in their kitchen. And when I'm done with something, I'll just put it away in that area. If I go through a half of cheese, I wrap it up and put the other half in their cheese drawer. So it depends. I have one client that just doesn't want to bother with it. So, they'll say, oh, you could take it home, or it just depends on the client. But they did pay for the groceries. So initially you need to think whatever you don't use stays with them.
Excellent. So, Kathy asks, I'm a
whole food plant-based.
Nice chef
Hi,
here
Kathy.
in suburban Connecticut, who's been running small cooking demos for the past year. Would love guidance about outreach, how to advertise personal chef services to the community here. Well, I could talk about a couple things if you like.
Yeah. Well, I think I might have mentioned it.
Yeah, go for
in
it.
the email. Well, because I thought, me personally, I get contacted, not a lot, but more than a few times about giving like a cooking demonstration at someone's home. So it would be like a little party for them. So in particular, this one woman, she would invite like 5 or 6 of her friends, and then I would come over and everyone would have an area around the island, and I'd show them how to make something, and then they would enjoy it, that type of situation. So I always thought that would be a great way to get your name out there as a plant-based chef.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the other thing is that you really are trying to raise awareness also in your local area. So as you find opportunities to maybe do events, say at local grocers, or even taking Bonnie's concept of, say, doing a party, Facebook is also a great opportunity. You saw how active, we're becoming pretty active on Facebook these days. And you can actually do a lot of targeted advertising on Facebook that could target your geographic area, target whole food plant-based. I always trip up when I say that, but and you could put out an event that could get people interested in attending. So there's different venues different channels to get at your clients. So you start thinking about who your clients are, where they live, and part of it is they live on Facebook, and that may be an avenue for you to promote yourself. And it can be fairly reasonable. You don't have to spend a lot of money to get some pretty targeted advertising.
Mm-hmm.
That's excellent. Okay, is it possible to buy non-perishable ingredients in advance of the cook date? If my 3 clients for the week are having a dish that requires a trip to a specialty market that is out of the way, could I pick up enough for everyone and store it at home? What is the best way to find the rules in my area?
If it's non-perishable, like a pantry item like salt and pepper and that kind of thing,
Yeah, it's a fine line you're walking. I think some personal chefs see that some of the non-perishable items maybe, but you are opening yourself up to a potential liability, because are you able to ensure that you're able to keep that in a way that is defensible? If somebody were to challenge and say, hey, you have a cat or a dog in your house, and that could create some type of problem with dander or what have you. And your client could be allergic to cats and dogs or something. But the best thing you can do is talk to your local health department. They'll be the ones, and we did that at one point, and they'll tell you what is the law and where are the gray areas.
Yeah.
And that'll give you much more confidence in dealing with it. But unfortunately, sometimes you just have to make the extra trip.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
So Dan asks, can you cook from someone else's recipes from a cookbook, or say from Ruby recipes that you've learned?
Oh, absolutely. I use a ton of Ruby recipes for my clients. And I mean, I was a personal chef when I joined Ruby, and we eat plant-based at home, but a lot of my clients don't. So I do prepare for them. And I actually use the recipes on Ruby for proteins and plant-based, and it's just helped my business immensely. And
yeah, I think where you have to be careful is if you decide that you want to do your own cookbook.
Yeah.
Because I think you can even blog about these recipes as long as you're citing where you got the recipe from. Say, hey, I got this great recipe from Ruby, and everyone should try it out. So, people like Ruby are going to love it because you're directing people to them as well.
Yes.
So just make sure if you promote it, you cite it. But for your clients, you're all good to go. Okay. Dan also asks, are there any other tips or suggestions on pricing other than estimating what you want to make per year? So the price, yes, absolutely. One, you can look at your local market and see what other personal chefs are charging in your market. That's going to give you a nice baseline. And 2, you can also, we really have identified 3 different ways. One is looking at how much you want to make relative to everything else, looking at your competitors, and then also look at the client's alternatives. And yes, they can go eat a nice meal at a nice restaurant, but remember that those aren't an apples to apples comparison. It's different because you're providing so much more service by doing it in their home and personalized to what they want, that there's an added value to that. And you can use that also to estimate what your pricing should be. But I'd say more often than not, pricing is probably going to be based on your competitive market. And if there's no other personal chefs in your marketplace, look at other cities of similar size. And again, don't underprice relative to everyone else. Be at least in the middle or even above. It's okay. You can always lower it. Leah asks, can you cook from someone else's recipes for, oh,
Can you cook?
I think that's like the same question, so I
Oh.
think we already answered that.
What is someone else's recipes, for example, cookbook or say?
Ruby recipes that I learned.
Oh,
So
yeah. Yes.
Okay. And someone asked, how do you respond to clients who want you to cook for them, but don't feel comfortable with you cooking in their home when they are not there? That's an excellent question.
It's a good question. But they don't want you to cook there when they are not there. Well, to me, when I read this, the only other option is for you to cook at a commercial kitchen. And so you can tell your client and present them with that option, but then they would have to pay for the commercial kitchen. And
so for example, in our local area, there's a commercial kitchen that charges roughly around a little over $30 an hour to use their kitchen. So if you're there for 5 hours, it's an extra $150.
Right.
Now, of course, it's all negotiable, but it is going to be an extra cost that you're going to incur. And, that's, some clients are going to feel that way, that it's a big commitment to ask a stranger to come in their home and cook for them, especially when they're not home. So, but another way to do it may be that if this isn't your first client, you could have them talk to one of your other clients that could give you a nice recommendation that you're trustworthy. And that's another way maybe to get around it. Part of it is just to see if you can establish that relationship. And then we had one other question here. Can you cook? So that's the same one from Leah that she asked in the chat.
Okay.
So let's see. It's 11:05. We just made it with an hour to spare, and one person raised their hand, but I'm not sure if they had a question to ask. If they do, feel free to answer it. Ask it in the Q&A section. And a couple of people are raising their hands. So not exactly sure why, but but let me just throw it out there. If there are any more questions, feel free to ask them now. Otherwise, we'll call it a day here with this webinar. I hope. Let me just ask one thing. Yeah, I'm going to lower everyone's hands.
Oh.
Good, because that's exactly what I want to know. I'm going to lower everyone's hands. If I can just get a show of hands from everybody, can you just let me know, was this helpful? Was this webinar helpful to? Oh, great. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
So
good.
maybe what would be great is if you could just let us know either by email or even you can post it in the chat section of topics you'd like us to cover in future webinars. Because we're definitely open to that. We are, like I said, we're launching the Personal Chef course a week from today. The enrollment's going to be open only for a week, and we're thinking we may do another webinar on Thursday of this coming Thursday. And so if there's a topic that you'd like us to cover, we'd be more than happy to do that. And then we'll also spend a little bit of that webinar talking a little bit more about the course so everyone knows what the course is all about. And also we're, for those of you who have been following us, the last time we offered this back in July, we offered a beta version of the course. This is the full version for first time we're offering it. But we are testing out a beta version of a new item that we're going to be offering for free as part of the people that sign up for this course. So anyways, there's more to come, and we'll be talking more about it this week. So,
What type?
Okay, so Francis asked about containers, so let's ask that, and then I'll put up, well, actually, just before we do that, for those of you who want our email address, it's Bonnie@personalchefnow.com and Greg@personalchefnow.com. And so that, and also if you have signed up for this webinar or any of our other things, you get access to our newsletter, and in our newsletter you can always reply back to that and we'll get that. So let's see. So Francis asks, what type of containers do you use to store the meals, and how do you leave reheating instructions?
Right. Good question. Each client is different. And for you, you just have to make sure that they have containers, that are going to work for you. You know, the larger ones are best. Personally, I like the Pyrex. And most of my clients are more health conscious and they don't like putting things in plastic anyway. So I usually work with Pyrex. But, you know, a lot of personal chef will use the vacuum.
Vacuum sealed.
Yeah, the vacuum sealed. And for one of my clients, they just have a lot of plastic containers that I use. So when you have your assessment, you just want to make sure that you take a look at their container drawer and that they have bottoms and lids. Make sure they have lids because you're going to be stacking. So matching lids are important. I've spent a lot of time matching, and you know, I just want a lid to this container. But yeah, just make sure that there are some solid sets for you to work with.
Yeah, and then also you provide labels for each of the containers.
I do. I do. We don't have an example here, but I have really nice stickers, and it's funny. It's all part of my brand, you know, professionalism. But my stickers have my nice logo, and it has the name of the dish, and it has the heat instructions underneath. So, you know, at the assessment, it's I ask them if they prefer microwave or, you know, how do they plan on heating their dishes, and then when they tell me, that's how I'll put it on the label. But I know chefs that will use blue tape and write it with a Sharpie. And yeah, it tells them what the dish is and how to heat it, but it just doesn't look great. But everyone's different and everyone has their own style. I know how I want to be. And so I hope that answers your question.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. So I think that covers it for this webinar. And again, stay tuned. We'll send out some further announcements for this coming week. Like I said, we may do another one this coming Thursday. But if not, you'll be just keep checking your inbox for our newsletter and other communications. So thanks everyone for attending.
Thank you.